Hello. Good. I cannot do anything. I cannot even move. What is this? This technology is challenging, guys. I'm trying to make it work, and I'm not sure I can make it this way. If I go to OTPM, not letting me. Microsoft is not letting me share my PowerPoint here. I'm doing a little bit different this today. Is I'm trying this. Okay. Here, I will go to Zoom, share, share. Yeah. I am in.
MedBits Webcast is a new kind of healthcare media channel to break the silo mentality and foster interdisciplinary thinking. Our mission is to fill that gap and to create a curiosity through different lenses, tapping the passion that guided the historical figures in medicine and bringing present-day groundbreaking research to the front lines. We interview physicians and leaders in the industry, about present-day healthcare challenges on our live programming.
Hey, hello, gentlemen. How are you guys? I hope I'm doing right. This is a new kind of things I'm using now. I hope I am doing. I hope you can see me. it is it is a little bit of a complex situation here. I'm using first time Zoom with our broadcast. Zoom and broadcast combination. It is not working well. It is I. You have to learn everything. Technology is a million buttons, million things, overwhelming. In fact. So we have to. I don't want to lose composure. I don't want to lose the patience, but be patient with this new technology. But it's great. One of the good things I do like about this Zoom to my broadcast. It's a special kind of broadcast. Um, it is directly zooming into my profile, and that's good. Anyway, my name is Raman Annamaraju, and this is a Medmix webcast. Welcome to all. I have a guest, John Silver, but unfortunately, John is picking up everywhere. We tried with 2-3 ways, and his audio is completely breaking up. I cannot hear anything from him. So yeah, I have to reschedule his talk with us in the latter time. But I don't know why it is particularly Florida servers. I think I don't know. I don't know much about it, but the technology is still the audio is completely breaking up. Anything I try to several methods to reach him, he tried it, and it is just a tremendous amount of pain. And so I'm sorry about that. John is not going to be there here today. It is it's about today. I'm going to talk about very interesting subject. It's called Doppler. Doppler subject. I'm going to present that. It's very interesting. You need to know why. The why Seattle became a famous, not because of Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos. Is that there is another guy who made Seattle famous, Bellevue actually. So Johnny joined again. I don't know whether he can I'm having a problem, but if you can join and see if you can work it out with me. John, are you there? I can. John is not. I don't know what is he doing. John?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Okay, let us talk a little. Yeah, now I can hear you better.
I tried a back door. It got me in.
Yeah, okay. Now I can see you clear. So good. I'm glad. All of you. It's kind of a strange way today. I'm doing something different for you, John, because I never did with a Zoom, and there's a broadcast software. I combine them together. It is a first time new experience for me to do that, and it is interesting. Okay, but anyway, I'm going to try that, and then let us see how it works. And I'm learning myself all these things. I wanted to ask you. Let us go into the subject now. It's John. Let me introduce John. John Silver is a registered nurse, and then he has a PhD, and then he's a professor now. He's teaching in a school, and then he can tell you a lot of things about the education side, and then he's a strong proponent of the utility model. Tell me what you are proposing a new kind of model in healthcare. What is that, John?
The public utility model?
Yes.
Well, it's the solution to a problem. So, a lot of countries have trouble deciding whether healthcare is a right or a privilege. We do here in the States. And it was a solution we came up to for example, electricity. And it's a problem when commodities were based on profits. In the case of electricity, didn't want to go into rural communities. They charged what they wanted. They wanted to be where the money was. And that's kind of the same problem we have in healthcare. We don't want to deliver services that don't give a return on the investment in terms of profit. But healthcare is an issue that impacts all of us. It impacts our country, our states, businesses, and of course, people. So this is a new approach to think of healthcare as a service that's delivered to communities versus individual billable interactions between people and providers. So in my case, these regional councils would have budgets and they'd be accountable to rural, urban, and suburban communities to deliver health services to those communities. Again, not based on billable interactions. There'd be no more need for insurance, but they would be budgeted, and it would cost our country over 40% less than we're spending on healthcare.
You know, the electricity, and you give a good comparison to electricity and the healthcare. But there is something different. Electricity is, you don't have to do, you need a couple of relay thermal stations. That's all you need. But body needs a continuous maintenance. It requires a lot of expenses. So how do you compare these two, the maintenance expenses of the body or maintenance expenses of the utility companies? There are two different worlds. How do you address that?
Well, you don't just build an electric plant and deliver electricity. I mean, there's service maintenance that has to be done on all of these things. And electricity is a requirement for life. We run it everywhere that people live, basically. You do have to change the financing of this utility model for healthcare because it wouldn't be based on user, use. But if you think about how people utilize healthcare, there's absolutely no predictive ability whatsoever people have for what's going to happen tomorrow, much less 6 months or 10 years from now. So any one of us in society could need healthcare services at any given moment in our lives, whether it's auto accidents or heart attacks or anything else. I want to restore in this model, particularly preventative services, which we don't focus on now, so that in the future, and hopefully not too long in the future, we can start bending the health curve down so that people don't need as much health services as they need now.
So you're proposing some kind of a preventive services, much more aggressive, much more spending more money on the preventive services rather than taking care of just after the effects.
Correct. I want to shift us from a disease system to a system that actually goes out and looks for what's causing these diseases. You know, there's a great story about doctors and nurses sitting on the river, pulling all these sick and injured people out of the river. And they do this for years. And then one day the nurses pack up and start leaving. And the doctors come rushing over and say, hey, where are you going? We need you here. We got all these sick and dying people. And the nurses say, to hell with this. We're going to go upstream and find out who's throwing all these people in the river. So until we start dealing with things
that is a great story.
Until we start dealing with things like nutrition and exercise and screening and preventative services and for the social causes of disease. And even some of the economic, a healthcare system can't solve every problem in society, but it can start addressing the socioeconomic reasons why people do have more disease in their lives, as well as, and I think this is just as important, the education component, which is largely missing from our healthcare system. As long as we're reactionary just to diseases, then we're just going to have the system we have now where people get morbidly sick and public health is bad. And we're just going to keep getting exponentially worse than that.
Some of the privileged, some of the companies, some of the people blame individuals. Do you agree with that? Individual responsibility is important, but same time, there is a systemic problem, right? For example, if you go to some places, only the fast food restaurants, there is nothing available other than a fast food restaurants. That is a systemic problem. And then they need to have an access to nutritional food, much more healthy food. They don't have. Why do some people this kind of a, weird thinking that all individuals are responsible? This is a very wrong thinking. Do you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. There are what we call food deserts in this country. A lot of even urban areas have them. If you have to get on 3 buses to get to a place that sells healthy food, that's a problem for that area. Tons of rural areas have this problem too, where there's just not, there's Whole Foods has a business model. They don't go into communities with low income people. They go into communities where people can afford to buy that.
You know,
If you're economically strapped, you buy what you think you have to buy.
I was placing doctors all over in the United States, particularly rural areas. I placed doctors in Selma, Alabama. I've been there. I took a doctor from Philadelphia, Jeff Weisman, his friend of mine. And then we are 3 people went there. On the way, it is a trip to remember. One thing we noticed in Selma, Alabama is consistently, irrespective of the race, most of them are the overweight. We see predominantly all of them are overweight. We asked that the director of the hospital, the in charge of the hospital CEO, he was telling, we don't have a nutritionist. We cannot afford nutritionist for 10 years. They don't have any nutritionist even for diabetic patients. So how could you do you can expect something without any infrastructure available for them. So this is a bigger problem. Prevention requires investment, is it not?
Well, I was surprised to learn that something like 80% of physicians have never taken any classes in nutrition. So that's a weakness right there. What we're involved with my group, Nurses Transforming Healthcare, is we're already in 2 state projects, one in Texas and one in Kentucky, where we're using nurse practitioner-led initiatives into some of these communities so that we actually start educating people and providing them a place to actually grow healthy foods and to understand nutritional education. And yes, we do use nutritionists as well. And we try to start showing families how to eat healthier, even though they have kind of limited budgets on how to do it. The Blue Zone Project, I don't know if you've ever heard of that. They go into small cities and they start working not just with the people in the town, but also the restaurants and the fast food places and the convenience stores. And they start trying to move the entire town into a healthier pattern. And they get some pretty dramatic results.
Interesting. So one of the things that nurses and the physician assistants can play a crucial role in this healthcare system changing of the utility model or new kind of systems that we need to adopt. Otherwise, the healthcare system is going to tend to fail because the doctors are desperate, they're very frustrated, nurses are frustrated. There's a whole healthcare system is in very serious trouble, and the policymakers are not recognizing this seriousness of this problem. What do you, from the ground stage, from your you're on the ground, you're working at the ground level. Tell me, do you feel that there's a lot of frustration in the healthcare system?
Well, yes. And one of the biggest problems is we don't have a health system. We have a disease profit system. And corporations that got into healthcare recognize that very quickly. The money isn't in preventing disease, the money's in treating disease. All the diagnostic stuff we have, for example. There's no money in a business that they just don't get a return on investment for preventing disease. And a true health system, should actually be trying to put itself almost out of business.
Actually, I may not agree with you 100% on this one. I tell you why. Because entrepreneurship is very crucial for reducing the cost. Healthcare is not a free enterprise as people think. It is a very carved out system, geographically carved out. The boys play a very dominant role in this. They don't have any other options. For example, one of my MedBricks platform is one of my proposals is that quantify the entire healthcare system from bottom to the top. A single minute quantification of the fundamental unit to all the way to the healthcare systems. If you quantify and give them opportunity to compete, everybody to compete for those procedures, for those, for example, if you want to do ultrasound procedure for in rural areas, but a lot of people will do for a lot cheaper. This is you. We have to come up with the new alternative free enterprise system that is a fairly available to all of them, fairly compete everybody. So they reduce. If you artificially putting a healthcare for all, Medicare for all may not work because the cost is going to go up, and then there is a different system. Is a problem with the Medicare for all kind of system. In my view, my personal view, I may be wrong, but that I'm one of those proponents. You can create a entrepreneurial free market system as long as you allow everybody to compete for those things at the quantification level, every level, not some big companies like two mega companies compete for the entire state. For example, in our state of Alabama, only Blue Cross Blue Shield runs the entire the healthcare system. There is no competition. What is that? That is not called free enterprise. So where is the free enterprise? We don't have the free enterprise.
Well, here's the problem, though. Healthcare is not a free market issue. You have no predictive capacity whatsoever when it comes to healthcare. When you're talking about color TVs, I can budget for it a year from now, and I want a big 70-incher, I can buy it. The problem with healthcare is its unpredictability. There is nothing and no way you can predict that your 5-year-old child is not going to become a type 1 diabetic. You cannot predict that you're going to be involved with that head-on accident on Route 45. There is no way you can predict a lot of the events that happen. So the best method to avoid that is kind of a preventative strategy. I do not want single payer. I don't believe in single payer because I don't want the government deciding what it is I get covered and what I don't get covered. Right now, the insurance industry decides that. I don't want the government to do it. I don't want the government to have access to all my health records. It's none of their business. At the same time, healthcare is a national concern. It's a state concern. It's a corporation and business concern. And it's a city, town, and community concern, and it's an individual concern. So in my model, we will all pay in. All of those entities will pay. It's just they're going to pay a hell of a lot less than they're paying now, and they're not going to have to worry about providing insurance to people. Yeah, when you brought up the issue of cost, we have absolutely no idea a lot of what healthcare costs, because there's so much overhead built into everything that healthcare does. Not just, the corporation, but the administrative concerns, all the departments in the administration, the insurance company profits, the corporate overhead, the LLCs over the top of the corporations. We have all these entities just sucking money out of healthcare. So we don't even really have a true value on what it would cost, for example, to provide open heart surgery to a region.
Last administration and this present administration, last administration passed a rule called price transparency rule. That is where all the hospitals and all the things has to be upfront, put the cost upfront. And then the present is a No Surprise Act. So both of them did not serve. Still, there is a lot of strings attached. There is no teeth to it. There is not a serious fines are not there. So it is like a slap on the wrist. It is like don't do that anymore. That kind of things doesn't work. You have to really aggressively. The cost. They most of the big insurance companies are not even following the price transparency rule. The second Surprise Act is they've sued the government right now. So it's kind of all in the state of flux.
Yeah, and the facilities, they hire the best and the brightest. They know how to get around all this stuff. I think the last I saw, only less than 20% of the facilities had even been compliant with the transparency thing. And then they have multiple different price systems. So what are they going to report? If you go in and pay for a service cash, it's not going to be what's billed to your insurance company.
Yeah.
And then if I'm in certain insurance companies, the price is going to be different than if I'm in other insurance companies, if I'm network versus not network. So they have all these pricing, Uwe Reinhardt wrote some great work on this about how prices were developed in healthcare. And it was basically just they made them up as they went along. It was kind of like you figure out how much profit you want to make, and then you decide what you're going to charge for all this stuff.
So, we need, as you suggested, a utility model would be a great idea. Let us talk about a little bit more. When I come back, stay online. I'm going to present a silent hero, really doesn't care about cause. He really wanted to help the real people. I'm going to present this is a story about his story. Let me bring this one. I hope okay. This is a new thing. So this is a story of he's a biomedical engineer who revolutionized the world of healthcare. I don't know whether you can see me. I can see John, but I hope both we can see the layout. I am trying to put the layout. I don't know. Okay, let us see. If I do the slideshow from front slide. This is the one I see. Yeah, why it is there? I'm trying to. Okay. Let me see this. Let me show you this one. I don't know why it is. Okay. So when you say ultrasound, when you talk about ultrasound, actually I'm going to talk about a story of we misread that part. I don't know why. That is a biomedical engineer who revolutionized the world of healthcare. He is not a Bill Gates. He's not Jeff Bezos. This unknown man put the Seattle on the world map. I tell you about it. I'm also kind of indirectly connected with him. I will explain to you. So ultrasound, for example, I'm going to talk about a little bit about ultrasound. Ultrasound is so useful now. If you see the body, if you see on the right-hand side, if you see ankle ABI index, you can measure the ABI index, which is with a peripherally artery disease. You can ABI index they call. You can do orthoclerosis check, a diffusion of the orthoclerosis plaque inside the body. You can measure through that one. A lot of Indians have that. That's the first indication. Excellent preventive screening test is the ankle ABI PAD test. The second one is you can do, these are the things that you can do with ultrasound. The next one is a bilateral vascular ultrasound. You can measure how narrowed these they are coming in. So the vascular, the vascular this pathology, you can connect with one of the dangerous one is a pulmonary embolism. It can cause, and people can die out of it. So vascular, you can do the vascular studies, and then bilateral vascular study both sides, and then you can measure the vascular pathology. Then you can do small parts, and then abdominal, you can do abdominal ultrasound, liver, kidneys, pancreas, gallbladder. You can do all the abdominal studies you can do on the body. These are all with ultrasound. An aorta ultrasound, the people, John Ritter, the comedian, died. All of a sudden, that is burst out sometimes, aorta. So that is the one you can look at it and see through that one. They can put a coil on it or something if there is a serious problem. Then you do cardiac heart study. You can do perfusion studies. You can do all the wall motions. You can do myocardial infarction. You can measure all the heart ejection fraction. All of them you can measure through the heart. That is a carotid Doppler for strokes. You can do all the way to the top is a transcranial Doppler to prevent stroke. The blood flow to the brain you can measure. All of them done through the Dopplers. Ultrasound. Ultrasound is a sound that you cannot hear. Only dogs can hear. That is a sound. The frequency is higher. So it's still sound, but some animals can hear, not you. That is ultrasound. So this is ultrasound that you do for men. For women, in addition to that, for women, there's a three more. See that? That's why the woman woman body is more complex because you have to do pelvic ultrasound. You can, OB ultrasounds that we do, and then breast ultrasound is which is the for the breast cancer, the detection, other calcifications. Look at it. So this is all these things you can do through a simple ultrasound machine. You, that is the power of ultrasound machine. Just the one machine can entire see the body inside. These are, I would say, X-ray and ultrasound are the two eyes of a physician. It should be these two modalities should be it should be at the every primary care office, in my view. Okay, so I used to sell a lot of them, those ultrasounds and the X-ray machines. So the second one, I hope I'm doing right. This one is China balloon is went through. We shot it down recently. That is, we kept them. We were keeping track of the China balloon from all the way to Missouri to all the way to the Pacific Ocean. Pacific Ocean. So the way they kept track of is they use a radar Doppler. They use a Doppler which is connected to the ultrasound. I will explain to you what that is in a minute. But that is a Doppler ultrasound. The Doppler, the sound waves, they use it to keep track of this balloon, in fact. So that is a much more predictive rather than anything else. But before I go into the, so what is the Doppler? So I'm going to explain to you. This is a Hubble telescope on the left side. I'm just deviating a little bit. So there is you see the connection. He took the Hubble telescope, took the first pictures of the heavens, the first pictures after the Big Bang, the galaxies and the birth of our universe. It took actually pictures. What Hubble telescope does is see in the past. It sees in the past. So is a time machine basically. Hubble telescope is that is on the left side. You see is Hubble telescope. You see how did they measure? So this telescope that is actually named after a great scientist. His name is Edwin Hubble. He is a polymath. He's a really interesting guy. I love his background. He's a boxer. He won the boxing championships. He was a prolific basketball player. Actually, he was born in Marshfield, Missouri, rural towns, very, very rural. And then he was a boxer. He was a professional boxer. Then he became a professional basketball player. He actually got the captain for the University of Chicago basketball conference title. He won in the 1907. He was born in 1889. 1907, you got the basketball conference title for the University of Chicago. Then he went to school on Oxford Law School. He became a lawyer. And he didn't like any one of those. I tell you, his father told him, you got to be a lawyer to make more money. No, he didn't like it. He became an astronomer. Not only he became just astronomer, he became one of the most famous astronomers of the century. Edwin Hubble that's why that telescope is named after him, Edwin Hubble. What he discovered, I will explain to you what he discovered. What he discovered was the universe is expanding universe. Farther they are away, all these galaxies and everything, they're expanding, they're running away from us. Eventually, after a billion years or few billion years or billion years, we will be alone ourselves, our solar system. You will not able to see any stars or anything else on the sky, because what we found out is that the universe is expanding in an accelerated pace. It's just expanding into accelerated. How do you know something is going away fast? Farther they are away, they are going much faster than before. So they are doing acceleration. So how did you find out that mechanism? What kind of a science you use it? It's called a Doppler effect. If you see, then I'm going to play this one. I hope you can see. Yeah, siren. you saw the ambulance, right? It's just starting from the low pitch, all the way low sound, all the way, and then became bigger, and then louder, and then became louder and louder, and then went back to he died. He become whimper. So that is the way it does that. If you are an observer, but the person who is in the ambulance he is always same. The sound is always same. For him, is no different. The observer on the outside is different. So what it does is when you are in front of if it is the ambulance is approaching you, that wavelength gets shrinking. That wavelength of that sound waves are shrinking. So that's why you can hear the high pitch. That's what it is. That the wavelength gets smaller and smaller. That's why you hear that bigger sound, and as it approaches you. Then once it is passed away, when it is leaving you, what happens is the wavelength gets expanded, the wavelength gets extended, it becomes bigger, and then your sound slowly dies. That is called a Doppler effect. Okay, there is a hissing sound. You see that's a different world itself. It did not come from, but I tell you, the hissing sound that you see when you turn on the computer, when you turn on the TV, old TVs, then if you don't have the channel present, there is a hissing sound. Actually, it came from the New Jersey. They found out that is the sound coming from the beginning of the Big Bang. They won the Nobel Prize also. But anyway, that's connected with the Doppler. So you can tell something is coming towards you or going away by measuring the wavelength of that wave that you can do, or you measure the sound itself. You can tell whether something is coming closer to you or going away from you. That is the key. So you can, because any waves, either it is sound or light, you can measure that. That is the power of the Doppler effect. That is called a Doppler effect. It is a Doppler effect you can apply to the sound and light. So whether the stars are coming to, whether the stars are running away, that's what Edwin Hubble found out. The stars are running away because the redshifted, the wavelength is expanding. That's what is redshifted. That's what they call. Redshift means wavelength is becoming bigger and bigger. The blue shift is getting smaller and smaller. That means they're approaching. You can tell something is approaching or going away by measuring the Doppler effect. So that's what the radar Doppler does. That's a China balloon was. So what they do is they send a radio wave. So you see a water that the way they measure whether the storm is coming towards you or not, to measure that blue shift and the red wave, the same thing, red shift. They send a radio wave, they listen to the reflection of that. That's a Doppler effect. They wait for the Doppler effect, and that's what it does. If it is going away, that means the red shifted, and the wavelength is expanding, coming towards you. It is becoming a smaller wavelength, so that you can tell storm is coming towards you or going away from you. That is the Doppler effect. That is a phenomenon of Doppler effect. His name is Don Becker. He was born in Alaska, but he grew up in Seattle, Washington. He was born in 1932. He was a U.S. Air Force technician. I'm coming back to why Doppler and the medical field is connected. So in 1932, he was working in the Air Force in the Korean War. He was deployed in the Korean War. He saw they're using the Doppler to radio the radars to detect whether the planes are incoming flights and going away flights or incoming enemy flights. So that's what he was a technician for that, during the Korean War. So that's what he did. He was after the war was over, he moved to, then he started working in the Boeing in Seattle, in Boeing factory, in the wind tunnel factory. The wind tunnel, that's a wind tunnel that you see in the middle. He was working in the wind tunnel technician there. Then he started going to school in the University of Washington as a bachelor's in engineering. He was doing electrical engineering there. While he's doing that, he came up with a brilliant idea. That is a Doppler. He first created a medical Doppler in a garage, that first Doppler. I saw that Doppler. Can you believe that? So I saw that Doppler, actually first Doppler. It is a very handheld. You can see he invented the first Doppler. That was the first cardiac Doppler through the University of Washington. When he showed that cardiac movements to the doctors, they were shocked. how precise and how wonderful these are images are. I don't understand all of it, but a lot of cardiologists can understand it. So they saw that it is a stunning images of the heart, it giving the story of the heart. It tells you exactly the structural story and what is the wall motion doing, what is the heart mitral wall prolapse, and all those things is giving ejection fraction. All of them are giving. They were shocked to see such a clear images from the heart, and it's getting images of the heart. So they were surprised and they didn't believe when they saw it was a big news. Pulse Doppler. This is the first picture of ultrasound of a baby that's in the part of the Smithsonian Institution. The ion donor, physicist Tom Brown from Glasgow, they took a first picture of the baby. That is the first picture of the ultrasound image of the baby. It is in the Smithsonian Institution now, but it is done in Scotland actually. They did that picture in Scotland. It's the first baby of the ultrasound picture. That's through the Doppler. So how do they detect? So the blood, if you put the Doppler in the right angles, that's one of the techniques the technicians struggle with. You have to put it the right angle. The way you put that angle, it tells you how fast the blood. So you can tell when it's coming sound, because it's a friction that is the walls of the friction with the red blood cells coming towards you. The sound it makes, you can tell whether it's coming towards you or going away from you. How fast it is coming towards you. That it can tell you if the vessel, if your arteries are, is narrowed or something that it is coming faster towards you. So you can tell you have a coronary heart disease because that they're all narrowed down. That's one of the reasons you can tell through the fact you can measure a lot of things by checking the blood cells, blood coming towards you or going away from you. That's a Doppler effect they use. That is so that's why you see in ultrasounds, actually you can see red color and the blue colors. That's what you see in the ultrasound. So actually, Dr. Nanda, I know him. He wrote a first book on lots of color Doppler echocardiography in the University of Birmingham, Alabama. He's a great, one of the great doctors, one of the top doctors of the color Doppler. He gave so many lectures. One of the great contributors of the echocardiography Dopplers in the color Doppler. Dr. Nanda is a cardiologist in the University of Birmingham, Alabama. Now, that was the ultrasound that I used to sell, Ultramark 4. That is in the left side, big, is the size of a refrigerator. I used to sell. Okay, Ultramark 4 they call. That is they usually use it for the baby's ultrasound. Actually, I did that. Don, I used to come to Ocala. My friend used to stay there in Ocala, Florida, and then I used to learn from him about ultrasound. He taught me how to sell ultrasounds. That the guy from Ocala. I used to go all the way, drive there to learn all these ultrasound machines from him. That is a very interesting days. So after that, so now the 2023, you have a huge change in the technology. You can use Sam Akaraj, who's from Silicon Valley. The one is exo imaging. They use iPhone to see all the ultrasound images, including cardiac Doppler. It's a perfect resolution and everything. Then there is another company called Butterfly. Both are good. So these are the companies are now just coming out. Came out with the new products that would be based on just ultrasound. You can do from the refrigerator size to phone size. Can you believe that? This is a worldly change. So we should give a better healthcare. It's a paradox. As I'm talking with John, we are getting small. The technology is getting so easy, and then you can give access to people, and they can do from home. Ultrasounds and everything. Why the healthcare costs are going up while technology is more accessible than before, but the costs are going up. Technology is access. It doesn't make any sense. It's a paradox. In ultrasound, there are a lot of advances coming in. One of the things they use a shear wave elastography. Elastography is the way if you a lot of alcoholics and all those people with the liver problems that you can tell. So if you do regular ultrasound, pulse wave, it goes straight, linear. So you won't get a lot of information. When you use a shear wave, the way the physics of it just goes up and down the entire liver. It covers the entire liver. So that's a great thing about the shear wave um, ultrasound. You can do ultrasound. So measure, you can tell which stage in this liver at the stage. Is the inflammation stage? Then you can drink a little bit more. Fibrosis, you got to watch out. When you are in a failure, liver failure, you need to pay. That's the time to go goodbye. That's, you have to be very careful. So it gives you great screening tool. Actually, is an excellent screening tool for liver, and new things are coming up. You can do for the breast lumps. You can do prostate cancers. You can do the shear wave elastography. Is new field is coming up. Is coming up. Or FibroScan is one of the companies. And the new other ultrasounds, the most advanced ones are contrast enhanced ultrasound. Is a micro bubbles. They use a micro bubbles like champagne water. The bubbles are, I'm a physicist. These bubbles, that is a very similar to the bubbles in champagne, but much smaller, much smaller. What they do is they put the gas inside. They put a lipid profile on the lipid cover, the encoded with the lipids. So what they do, they give injection. It's not dangerous. The micro bubbles are not dangerous. People think they used to think it's dangerous, but it's not. They proved it beyond the doubt. So when you take these bubbles, the micro bubbles, they vibrate because the bubbles can stay. These are the new physics. Actually, some physicists kept the bubble for more than a year without bursting up. Okay, so you can keep the bubbles for more than a year. So we can keep it long enough, and we can put the time constraint on with the bubbles. So when you put that, these bubbles vibrate. So the ultrasound, a lot of times ultrasound can penetrate some of the bodies, but these bubbles can penetrate a lot of places. You can go. They use a Levovist. I think a Levovist is the contrast agent. The gas that the microbubble contrast agent. They use that. So they give that one and they do the ultrasound. Why they do that? This is why so important for us. Is a perfusion studies can come extremely important. So pancreatic cancer is one of the hardest to detect because a lot of people by the time you detect the pancreatic cancer, it's already late. That's one of the toughest cancers to detect. So we need these kind of ultrasound images. We need with the bubble studies, you can get much faster, much earlier. When the cysts are forming or some kind of anomalies coming up in the pancreas, you can detect, and also you can measure through the bubble studies. Another field is coming up. Mathematics is helping really transforming the ultrasound on entire medicine. In fact, the Fourier, a scientist from the mathematician from the 17th century, Joseph Fourier. Now Srinivasa Ramanujan is also involved. These are the people that they came up with the mathematics to. So what it does is you can shift from a time domain to frequency domain to time domain. You can go back and forth with the ultrasound. That is a great thing about the ultrasound. The mathematics we are using much more aggressively and effectively using an ultrasound machines, ultrasound computations. So think about that. The laws of the universe, we're applying the laws of ultrasound. The Doppler effect that you see to measure whether it's the universe is expanding universe to all the way to the ultrasound to find a baby, looking at the picture of the baby. You will use the same physics, same ultrasound. So interdisciplinary field is extremely important. That's what I would say. So I would. So why Seattle? Actually, Jeff Bezos understood this part. What he did was he put the building, his headquarters, called a Doppler building, is actually a tribute to the even though his name is not Don Becker did not invent the Doppler. Christian Doppler, Austrian physicist, did that, but is a tribute to the into the Don Baker. Don Baker's Advanced Technology Laboratories became only source one time. They are the number one ultrasound machine sellers in the country, in the world. Everybody bought it from them. I remember buying from them everything. He died recently, actually. He died in the age of 85. In 2018, he died. But in the name of, because of that, they put Doppler building, Amazon headquarters is called a Doppler building now. They say it's one of the fascinating places to see. So I am I'm going to bring just for a minute, and then I'm going to bring back, talk about a little bit about it. And can you see, John? What do you think of it?
I'm a big fan of mathematics. I've done reviewed and seen the application of a lot of cardiac ultrasound. Of course, the transesophageal is a little bit better than just the chest cardiac ultrasound. But you're right, ejection fraction, stroke volumes, cardiac output. You can see the muscle walls actually in operation. You can assess the valves as they operate, which they really can't do with x-rays and CTs and MRIs. So in terms of vascular flow, I think the Doppler is pretty much unparalleled. The limitations I've always heard of were depth. And I guess that depends on the Doppler device.
That's why the contrast agents would help nowadays. The contrast agents, that's the new thing that's coming. The Doppler is coming the better. They're getting the depth. You don't need to change the frequencies. You can use the same probe, multiple frequencies of the same probe. We used to change the probe all the times. They change the probe and put a new probe and a different probe. That's a big hassle. Now you don't have to change anything. Same probe you can do multi-phase frequency you can do. This it is eventually will replace the CT and MRI. You can do that. The quality is getting better and better. Computational, the more than a depth, the computational aspect of it can make it much easier to get a better resolution and everything else. That's why mathematics is the key for that. That's why I presented it. More than that, more than science and more than medicine, John, people like you and Don Becker and all those people who contributed to this country's medicine. These are the people who cannot ignore. We don't even acknowledge this. People don't even know who Don Becker is. So we need to really bring these people back, understand them, what they do, understand their life, how they struggle to invent something. It is a phenomenon in my view. So I want to tell the stories of the world. I told the stories of, from Austrian physicist to Indian C.V. Raman. I was talking about yesterday, C.V. Raman, what he did with the light and the matter together, how they can do all the diagnostics. So these are all the people we need to, worldwide people who contributed with their passions. They did not care about to start making money and patents. They just wanted to help humanity. People like Don Becker is really, you should have been easily multi-billionaire. He did not. He could have patented everything else, and then he could have done every ultrasound in the world should be his name on it because he is the first inventor of the ultrasounds in that sense. But anyway, so John, what is your proposal? You think the top three ideas that you wanted to solve healthcare problem? Tell me top three.
Well, the first challenge I had was coming up with what I thought the goals of a healthcare system were. And the goals that I came up with, and I had 7 of them, I think are the goals of any healthcare system in any country in the world. The advantage the United States has is particularly the number of nurse practitioners we have, which is also an advantage that Canada and Australia has if they'd let them practice independently to bring their innovation up. The second thing I kind of like to bring out is we are paying way too much money in this healthcare for absolutely lousy outcomes in terms of public health. So we're just not getting the return on the investment with this system as a society. And at what point should a society look at existing systems and say, you know what, you're just not doing your job? So we're gonna try a different tact. A lot of societies are very resistant to take on institutions. What a lot of people don't realize is what we see as healthcare now is really only about 40 or 50 years old. These systems have evolved since the 40s, 50s, 60s. In the 70s, they started becoming big business, not just for the facilities, but for physicians. And then in the 80s, we had the corporate takeover of healthcare, which has just driven up the costs outrageously over the last 40 years or so. And the third thing I want to really bring across is the humanitarian issues involved with healthcare. So to neglect entire communities, to neglect populations or ethnicities, and deprive them of what not just allopathic healthcare can bring, but also Chinese healthcare, integrative healthcare, holistic healthcare. These all have valuable components of improving health in communities. And to rely on just one model for every community is, again, I think, kind of contrary to what we know as people, that different groups are going to respond differently to different strategies to promote health.
Yeah. So that is a key. That is I understand that. Basically, I hope one day solve some problems of our goals has to be clear, our direction has to be clear, and we have to. Its cost will go down. Definitely, if the goals are clear. In physics, they ask the most important thing is asking the right question, are more important than answers itself. We don't have the right questions. We need to have a right direction. That's what important. The fundamental directions is missing. As we have to get when you need a fundamental direction, we need to get the wisdom of people like you or Plato. I take a Plato and people wisdom like you. Thank you.
Very kind.
Thank you so much, John. You're always, anytime I ask you, you will always come and happy to join. Thank you so much.
I learned something every program, Romano. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm going to share some. I started a new program, a new thing nowadays. I want to do a music at the end, different kind of music. I'm going to share. One of the. Let me share it, and then I'm trying to share the song. Hope I do. I don't know where I'm at. It is a very strange situation I'm in. God, I hope I understand what I'm doing. I think I'm sharing. Where is oh yeah. I need to share the PowerPoint, right? Yeah. Okay. I'm sharing the PowerPoint. Okay. So this is the one I'm going to play. Every time I was thinking is that I want to introduce something music, some at the end to make it a little bit different. It's not a medicine, but this is my son doing a fusion. He has a master's in neuroscience. He did a Vanderbilt degree, and then he became a musician. He likes let me show you. I hope it will play. This is the music that he is doing. This started a music career, and he is doing a fusion music between Indian and American and the rap.
Bet y'all didn't see this coming. Yeah. Come on. Swing. Swing, rock, swing, look. I've been busy for for a Bollywood bag. I do it for the city, I'm a Robin Hood swag. With bands after bands, formulating in my hands, nigga. I'ma be the man till I got a foot tag. It's just another day in this life. It's like a movie with no cameras on my craziest nights. Cup of Henny over ice, call it gravy and rice. Now roll the push up in the wood, blowing good till we beaming up to alien heights. Wearing quickness to the club like Punjabis. The birds trying to flock and we ain't even in the lobby. We got the parking lot, pouring shots of Bacardi to the top. Yeah, we call it a Masala block party. That's my cousin on the... She's singing right now. Make some noise, y'all. Put up with a Bollywood team. She looking like a Bollywood queen. Got busted like a Bollywood scene. And let me see it, Bollywood swing. It's 1036, hella bottles in the mix. With some Magic City models belly dancing on their whips. Big body drunk, shaking trunks out the pavement. That's an understatement, really, you can hear us out of fits. Drip to them ankles, baby, shaking like some bagels. See you make them throw them singles, girl, you know we getting rich. Cadillac jumping, doing donuts like Duncan. Yeah, I see your man saying, tell that nigga smoke something. Parking lot pimp, can you dig it, little shorty? We gon' bring it to the streets, going crazy, everybody saying.
Oh,
Bet y'all this here's coming. Yeah. Come on. Swing. Swing, rock, swing, look. I've been busy for a Bollywood bag. I do it for the city, I'm a Robin Hood swag. With bands after bands, formulating in my hands, nigga. I'ma be the man till I got a foot tag. It's just another day in this life. It's like a movie with no cameras on my craziest nights. Cup of Henny over ice, call it gravy and rice. Now roll the push up in the wood, blowing good till we beaming up to alien heights. Wearing quickness to the club like Punjabis. The birds trying to flock and we ain't even in the lobby. We got the parking lot, pouring shots of Bacardi to the top. Yeah, we call it a Masala block party. That's my cousin on the... She's singing right now. Make some noise, y'all. Put up with a Bollywood team. She looking like a Bollywood queen. Got busted like a Bollywood scene. And let me see it, Bollywood swing.
okay, guys, that is the story of I try to do that, So it's a thank you for listening. It is a thank you all, and then thank you so much for joining. It is a new today. I started a new thing, so I hope it will work. I don't know. Everything is all